Greetings, I'm Barrett and welcome to Meet Me at the Table. Today we're going to be doing an unboxing of Vampire the Masquerade Chapters #1 Montreal. This is my Kickstarter copy that I pledged back when it was on Kickstarter. I'm excited to dig into this and show you everything that has to do with this game. When I was in college, I actually played a little bit of Vampire the Masquerade, which was a role-playing game at the time, and I believe it is still going on today. I haven't since played it. It has been, oh my gosh, a long time. I'm 47 now, or almost 47, so college was a long time ago. So it's been a while since I've dealt with Vampire the Masquerade as a role-playing game, but I'm excited to dig into Chapters. This game did fund on Kickstarter. Liked what I saw, so I backed this. I will tell you, this is not a full all-in pledge. I did not get a lot of the cosmetics that went with this game, but I did get many of, or if not all of the gameplay elements that go along with Vampire the Masquerade Chapters. So if you're excited to see what's inside this box, this book, and of course we've got some exclusive miniatures, we have all of the little expansions that were part of the game as it continued to fund. So we have all of these. We've got so much to unbox, and if you're excited to do that, then I need you to meet me at the table. Before we continue with the unboxing and actually showing you what is in here, I want to give you a quick synopsis of what exactly this game is. This is a bridge between the RPG and board game universe, so I guess you could call this an RPG in a box, similar to something like Folklore from a while ago, and that was considered an RPG in a box. This is going to present you with a fantastic narrative, and you're going to be living inside of this narrative, making choices and going down different paths to see how the whole game unfolds around you. During this adventure, we're going to be dealing with tactical combat, branching dialogues, and investigative mechanics as well. So this is not a dungeon crawler where you're running in and attacking everything, gaining loot, and moving on. This is going to have an impact as to how you interact with the world that is being presented to you inside this game. What we'll be doing is we'll be controlling 1 to 4 of what are considered neonates, I think is what they call them. They're vampires that are less than 1,000 years old, and we're going to be discovering the story around those characters. And there are different clans, I believe is what they are, and you're going to be able to choose which clans you want to have your vampires from, and then those are going to gain their own skills, abilities, and disciplines in order to advance the story, and you're going to maybe get bonuses or negatives based on what type of clan you decide to be part of. Now, this game is going to be for 1 to 4 players. It takes about 30 minutes per chapter, but that may increase based on your player count. Now, with all of that said, and now you have a little bit of an idea of what Vampire the Masquerade Chapters is, then of course this takes place in Montreal. Let's unbox what is in here. And this is a really huge box. This stands way above my hand when it comes to the size of this box. I know we have a top-down view, so you really can't get the scope of how big this box is, but I would say it's about as big as it is wide. We have a little insert here for Vampire the Masquerade. I believe this is the role-playing game that, like I was talking about before, and I wouldn't doubt if they even have books and things that go along with it as just actual physical books that you can read that live inside this universe. Again, don't know everything. It's been a long time since I've ever dealt with this exact IP, but we're going to continue on here. We have some tiles here. We have quite a bit of tiles, and this is a hex-based game. As you can see here on the boards themselves, they have hexes, and the characters will be built in hex types character models. I'm going to remove these, put these to the side. We're going to continue on for now, but we will come back to those. We have something that protects our game. We have our storybook here. I am not going to be spoiling much of this. I may show you a few pictures of maybe the very first prologue or first chapter intro thing that you're going to do, just so you can see exactly kind of how the layout of this works and how it is going to be functioning. We also have our rule book that we're going to have to read through. I've kind of been perusing this a little bit online already because I'm super excited to get this to the table. I believe it's about 50 pages long. It's 53, and then it has an index in the back, or glossary, apologize. That's going to be able to show us all the things we need to know when it comes to how to play the game. So like I said, I've already been working on reading through this. We'll get that done and we'll get this to the table as fast as we can. Let's return to some of these awesome looking tiles. They are pretty thick cardboard tiles and they've got great artwork on them. On top of that, they are dual-sided. So some of these might be placed together. For example, this one comes to an edge here without an actual edge of the tile. So there might be another piece of street that kind of connects in different ways. So this could become like a larger map, or they could be just single maps that are going to take place in here. And while the game plays through it, you're going to potentially maybe be doing combat in this room, or this could be a room where you're going to have a dialogue type sequence where you're going to move your character next to somebody performing dialogue that goes on, or you could be investigating this room and looking for things that could help you with the rest of your chapter. So each one of these, like I said, are dual-sided. They have fantastic, oh my gosh, look at these. These are really, really well done. I am super impressed. Super impressed with it. So here's again that one of the streets that kind of folds out. So there could be one that connects over here at some point. This one looks like it has a door that goes out, or this way another. It's like this looks like some kind of alleyway, or maybe another. You can put like something to get in there or something. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Oh, these people didn't quite make it. Too bad for them. And I will mention that this game is for 18 up. I did not mention that as I was doing the intro for this. So I'm not sure how graphic some of these pictures are going to be in here, but do know this is for 18 plus as you're watching this unboxing. Here are some more tiles, and we're just going to quickly flip through these as fast as, I shouldn't go super fast because I know they're kind of neat, but if you do really want to see one in particular, please feel free to stop and look at it. Oh, look at this. We're in a museum. We're in a museum. We're outside again, and there's so many of these. Wow, I just can't even get through these. This looks like a classroom or oh no, it looks like a courtroom of some kind. Look at this. This is one just big open area. Oh my goodness. And then, like I said, all those streets could connect to it. It could be really super big. We can see here, oh, there's a cemetery at night. Here's a whole path we might have to get through at some point. And you'll never know what you're going to be dealing with when you come to until you get into the actual chapter, because you're going to go through a whole setup phase for your chapter first to decide who and what you're bringing. And then you're going to start uncovering what you're going to be dealing with as you continue forward. I'm just kind of talking over some of these tiles because they look super, super cool. That looks like some kind of monastery of some kind. We're in some small village maybe or some kind, or in an office building. What is it? Oh, look at this. We're on or scaling up a skyscraper. Are you kidding me? That's pretty bonkers. We'll have to see how that goes. We'll continue on here. We have a few more of these, and I think this is our last one right there. So those are just the tiles. Or the game tiles. They look really cool. I'm excited for those. This lifts off, and we're going to see what's underneath. These are all of our punch boards. These are all going to be standees. I do have the miniatures that are going to replace these standees because I'm not a big fan of standees in games if I can get miniatures for them. And we have all the punch boards as well. Our first punch board does consist of all of the different standees, and they are double-sided, but they're not a front or back, so facing potentially may not matter in this game. We'll have to take a look, but here's another set of punch boards that are just going to be different standees for what we may encounter in the game, and potentially the standees for our characters as well. Moving on to our tokens, we have a lot of different tokens, and we're going to have to deal with all these at some point, I'm sure. For example, we've got different terrain tokens, fires. I don't know exactly how these are all going to interact with us, but these are all different types of terrain tokens. We have initiative tokens that are running across the top, I believe. And then we have down here some of the status tokens or effect tokens that are going to happen to us. And each one of those, of course, will do something detrimental to us. We'll have to see what that is as we continue forward through the game. And these are, I believe, double-sided again, and they are the same thing on each side. And that being the case, I kind of always wish that if they were dual-sided, I wish they would give us some inkling as to what they did just on the other side. So you'd have like this token have this picture on it, but on the back it would say like -1 to attack or something. I don't know what the token does, but I've always been a big fan of a token telling me what it does on the other side if it has the ability to do that. We're going to continue on with some other tokens. These are boons that we're going to be able to give up during our time between, or even during some of our chapters, to gain equipment from some of the local, I guess, vampire merchants, I guess you could say. Again, we have more status tokens up here. And the only thing left we have are going to be some of these, again, I think are going to be in initiative tokens maybe, or something of that nature. These, I believe, are going to be those are going to be all of our different characters. They may have to go into our character boards. That might be part of our character boards. We'll have to see as we continue on what those exactly are going to be. Let's put those all aside. That's the end of our punch boards, and let's move into the inside of the box. Oh, I forgot the one down here at the bottom. This is our initiative tracker, and I believe that's what these are going to be for. You're going to place them in the initiative order based on what you are in potentially combat or even dialogue situations. You may have to do that. We have a quick reference guide that's going to tell us the way our turn order is when it comes to different things that we're going through, the dialogue or investigation or our main sequence, our combat sequence. They all have their own way of going through it. Then we have what the dice are going to be, which we are going to be right here. These dice are custom dice. These dice do have custom things on it based on successes and failures. There are potential ones that are going to be like super successes. There's ones that are regular successes, and there's ones that are going to be misses, and some might not even be able to be re-rolled. Of course, all that is going to be found on our card. There's 1 success, 2 successes, no successes, and no successes enforces a ruse check, which is something you don't want to have to do. A ruse check, I believe, has to do with whether or not you may lose a hunger from your board, and if you lose too much hunger, the animal inside takes over, and you're no longer able to kind of do things well enough to keep the animal at bay that needs hunger for blood. So these are the dice. They are, like I said, custom made. If you did the full all-in pledge, they did come with a metal version of these dice. I don't have that. I decided not to go that route. Here are the stands for the standees, and as you can see, they are in a hexagonal form, so they are going to move around in that fashion. Here are all of the starting characters you're going to gain in the base box, and there are 4 other ones here that are going to come in the expansions. I believe I have these expansions, so we're going to look at those as well. And the good thing is it looks like the expansion stuff will all fit inside this box. And one thing I'm not sure about, because I haven't gotten that far, is whether sleeve cards will fit in the box, and we'll find out. I did get the sleeves for this game. They are right here. They did come with this particular Kickstarter. Here is going to be one of our boards, and these are going to be all of our different tracker tokens that we're going to be using during the game. We're going to be tracking different things with these. These are kind of interesting. I think they're plastic, I believe. Yeah, they are plastic, but they do slide in. They have like a little hook here, so you're going to slide them into things to track different things, either on our characters or potentially on some maybe cards that we're tracking. We'll see how that all unfolds as we play through. So this right here is our main tracker. This is a tracker that every person deals with. It's not like an individual tracker. This is kind of like your group's tracker that you're going to have to do, and it has masquerade, status, and rounds. So you're going to be having cubes in these, moving these up and down, and things are going to happen based on the numbers you have in there. We do have a sand timer, which is super cool. I'm really pumped by this mechanic. This may, at some point you may have to say turn the timer and flip the card, make a choice, and so you only have a certain amount of time to make that choice, and so you're able to sit around and fully talk about the consequences or of your actions. You have a timer you have to deal with. I think that's really neat. I sometimes bring timers like this out in my Dungeons & Dragons group because I think it's awesome to see them have to really quickly figure out what they're going to do. And then we have our cubes that are going to be placed on our main board, also potentially on this board as well, to track different things. Now this is only the first layer of this, and it does show really cool that cards 1 through 70 and 71 plus are going to be fitting into these particular places here, so you know exactly how to put your game together as you go forward. We're going to take this off, and underneath is going to be more components that are going to be our paper components and a lot of our cards. I'm going to, again, like I said, not try to spoil too much. These right here are going to be parts of each of the story chapters, so I'm not going to be looking at any of these, but I do want to mention that the top of my game did come with this particular one right here, and this is chapter 13. The chapter they did mention in this little piece of paper here that came with the top of it, that chapter 13 is actually in here in the English version in German, and so this is the English one, so you're just supposed to replace it from how I understand it. And on the back they've already have a small errata card that will help you with any questions that may have come up based on what was in the rule book or some of the chapters that weren't clear enough or were not worded correctly. So that did come on the top of it, which is pretty cool. Here are the boards for all of the different clans of vampires and who you're going to be part of. So let's take a look at each one of these. Each one of these does have a symbol up here associated with the particular clan they are from. Again, I apologize, I'm not fully remembering exactly how this all goes, but I do have I have some knowledge. I don't know, can't remember exactly how the clans all work though, but we do have like the Bruja, we have the Gangrel here, we have the Machiavellian. Oh, is that the Machiavellian? Yes, it is. Then we have, this is the Nosferatu, I know that one. We have the Troubadour, We have, I can't remember this one at all, or is this the Troubadour one? I think this is the Troubadour one. I don't remember this one. I apologize. I can't listen to me. I don't know anything at all. We have the Venture, and then this one is particularly interesting. What this is this is what I guess what they're referring to as a clanless vampire, and you're going to be able to build this one out, but it does have some detriments based on skills being a little bit more expensive to buy because you're actually able to it's kind of wild character. So you're going to choose the one you want to be in from what clan, and what you purchase is going to decide what disciplines, what stats you start with, what abilities you start with. Some can be better at attacking and fighting, some can be better at discipline, or not disciplines, but conversations or investigating and things of that nature. So, and of course, certain ones, one of the cool things about this is as you get experience points and level these characters up, there could be moments in the game based on what happens in the story that could make you either switch your vampire to a different clan, or a new one comes into play that because yours has died, or a story moment has made it so that yours can't go forward and you have to pick something different. And if you do that, the experience points you gain carries over into the new vampire, and it doesn't start at level 1. It starts off where your other vampire would be. So experience points is not bound to the characters, it's bound to the player who's playing the character, which is kind of cool. So if something ever happens where you have to switch them, it's kind of a neat little mechanic that you can bring them right up to the power level of your other vampire. Of course, the problem is, oh, they're all on the back. I should have just looked at the back. Here we go, look at these. And they give a little backstory of each of these. Oh, these are the Tremere right there. And they give a little backstory about who each of these are and kind of how they maybe came to be and what their clan is all about. So here's all the clans. I could have just looked at the back of these. What do you know? Learn something new every day. Look at the back of your cards, Barrett. That's important. And then, of course, it has them here as well. These are the pads for each of the clans of vampires. They have all of them right here that you can write on. And it does show, for example, this person is going to have 2 physical, 3 social, and 2 mental. Then these are the skills and the discipline. And when you're leveling up your character as you go through it and you gain skill points of that nature, you're not going to be able to put any skills higher than you have for your attributes. For example, I wouldn't be able to get more in persuasion because my social skill was only at a 3. So I'd have to raise the social skill first with my experience points before I raise the skills. And the disciplines are kind of the power that certain vampire has. And these can cross into other ones. Fortitude is, for example, Dominate here is also on this particular clan of vampires. So these do cross between different clans, but every clan has their own set of 3, except for, of course, this Gabe one where you can make whatever you want as you go through the game. So it's neat that each of these start with a certain set. And down here it does show the experience cost you're going to be paying to get different points. So for an attribute, it is going to cost more than it is for a skill. But like I said, you can't go up on precision or persuasion, until you get your social skill up higher, because you can never go higher than that particular number. Now, as you can see, mental and physical, this person doesn't have to worry about bringing these parts up until they start getting some skills in here. So this particular character obviously is very good at that, where other ones are going to be very good at fighting, I'm guessing. I'm sure, like, if I can find like the Bruja, I'm sure he's in here. He's probably super fighter dude. Yeah, here he is. Here's the Bruja, all in fight and stuff. No stealth for him. No stealth. He just runs in and punches things. And that's the cool thing about Vampire the Masquerade is characters can kind of be built out how you want them. You could eventually round them out to all kind of be equal, or you could really dump everything into this social skill and just make this a talking person that is one of the best at that. All right, that's the end of that. Let's see what else we have. We have some envelopes that I'm not going to open until we play through the game. Those are going to be opened only then. Like I said, we do have a whole bunch of these books. These books are all going to be for each of the chapters, and it's interesting that they're so small. I think that's kind of cool. And so like this one, for example, is chapter 25. That's almost near the end of the game. I'm going to guess. I'm going to put it back. No, oh, well, I dropped it in there. Perfect. It's just like that. So we're not going to look at any of these. I apologize if people wanted to see what these look like, but these are all going to have story moments in them that you're going to have to decide as you're playing through it. Actually, I can show you the one that this game came with that replaced the one that was not in English. So I am going to show just a couple pages of this, but again, I'm going to try to cover up anything that could spoil it. For example, here's the table of contents that shows you kind of what you're doing inside of this one. This one does come later in the game, but as you can see, it kind of has a what is going on, and then you're going to make potential choices or have to do skill checks based on that. And again, don't want to show too much, sorry, but that's kind of how that book goes. And now that's different from the storybook. The storybook may lead you into one of these books that then you have to turn to that page and make that choice. Let's look at some of these cards. Again, I'm going to try not to spoil too much and see what we can see. There are a lot of cards, and I'm kind of afraid looking at this that it doesn't look like these are going to come into this. They're not going to remain, I don't think sleeving them is going to get them back into this box, which is going to make me very sad. Because I'm a person that sleeves all my cards. Maybe I can get them in there if I do it that direction. We'll see. I know that if they have to have certain cards that were in the actual thing like this, if that's what has to fit in there, this is not going to fit in sleeved. Now, outside of playing all the different chapters in this, there is a particular part of the game that I do want to show that I think might be one of these booklets. So I am going to grab these out and just look at least for that booklet to show you a little bit about what it is. I'm not sure where it is in this giant conglomeration of books, so it'll take me a second. Once I started cracking open those books, I found one that I wanted to find, and one that was actually awesome that I did find. So this one is our feeding events. In between your chapters, you can choose to go on feeding events, and based on your, I believe, kind of reputation in the city, you can go to different nodes and decide where you want to feed. And then you're going to look in this book, and it'll tell you a little bit about how that all transpired. And certain vampires will be better at certain ways of feeding. For example, maybe you might find one of the nodes is better for physical characters, or one might be better for persuading characters and things of that nature. Now, the other cool thing I found is each character does come with a prologue book that you can read, be part of your journey when you first start the game. So, for example, if we took Thomas, as we played through that first chapter, it may tell us to turn to different parts of this book. So we could go to page 3, this event, we'd read it. So now I can actually show you a little bit, because this is his prologue book. So it's not the end of the world. Unless you want to play him, you might have a little bit spoiled here. But for example, it's punishment time. So it might tell you to read this, and you read through this, and then it'll say you can run to this there, or you can pick this little guy up. And I do notice it is a 18 or higher game. There are swear words in this. And so then you'd have to move over to this one or this one over here, and you're going to read through this until it tells you to make, I think I saw one. I think there was one that told you how to make some checks here. So for example, down here, it says, now, do I have clue token 1? We'll have to deal with that then. Then we're going to go over here. There's some active time that we'll have to deal with, a combat, it looks like, of some kind. So this is really cool. That I love how the game will set your things up through your storybook, but then these are going to be the way you go through the story when it comes to choosing what you want to do. And I'm really excited that each one comes with their own prologue. So you can play through these again and again if you want to see exactly how each character plays before you actually decide to choose the character you want to play through in the game. And of course, you have those feeding events as well. Our first set of small cards we have are humanity cards. So not only are you a vampire, but you do have some humanity still inside of you. Every person is going to, I can show you these because these are really just a mechanic in the game that you're going to have next to your character board. It's going to show you what your humanity is. And as you do some kind of potentially unscrupulous acts, your humanity is going to go down. And you're going to have to try, I don't know if there's a way to build back your humanity once it gets too low, but these are again going to have consequences based on how much humanity you have or not. For example, this first one says your morality is still unmarred by the horrors of your new life. But as you go further down here, for example, 5 now, it's going to say start each chapter at 2 hunger and +1 intimidation instead of your base 0 hunger and 0 intimidation. So it does, your stats are going to increase, but other ones are going to get harder to deal with as you gain less and less humanity, which is kind of cool. I like this mechanic. And it also gives you, I guess you could say, sometimes the events you might want to do would lower your humanity, but maybe that's the best choice. And it's going to be, there's going to be multiple consequences now to make that choice. The next ones we have is our disciplines. These are the powers that your vampire has. This is a level 1 discipline, so I again don't have any problem showing you this one, but these are going to add your celebrity level to your movement. So this is going to help you potentially move around the board a little bit more. And as you get to certain points, you're going to have to decide which one of the next ones you'd want. So you might get 2 possible level 2 disciplines, and you'll have to decide which one of those is going to be better for the way you're playing up and building out your character. Of course, you have to pay the experience in order to go up in those particular disciplines, but there's ones for all different types of disciplines in here for every type of group that you're playing with. And like I said, some of these overlap between the different clans, which is kind of cool. So you can build out characters that multiples can do the same discipline, but then we branch off a little bit. So it's going to be really cool. I'm excited to see how these disciplines are going to interact with the way the game works. works. And I just showed you a small amount of the disciplines. I mean, this is all of the disciplines you could potentially have on characters, which is pretty good. Now, the next thing I'm going to show is the combat decks. So here are all the different combat cards that you can bring into battle based on the skills that your character has. For example, if you do have Brawl level 1, you'd be gaining this particular combat skill. Now, you're not able to take every card in. From how I understand it, you have to choose the deck of combat cards you're going to bring into your deck. But here's one for Celerity 3. So when I said celebrity, that was absolutely wrong. We also have Hollow level 2, Weapon level 4. So as you go through the game and you level up potential disciplines or skills, you're going to be able to gain new deck cards that are going to be able to go into your deck. Now, these are the base ones. These are the base ones that you come with. So I can show these off because you're going to be using this in the very first chapter. Very first thing you're going to do in the game is you're going to learn a little bit of combat. And so we have each of the cards here that are going to show exactly how each of these cards work. So let me quickly explain how this is. When you enter combat, you're going to choose to potentially move around the board a little bit. Then you could potentially use any of your like disciplines or any of that nature. Then you're going to choose like any type of combat card you want to use or an item or something. So that's when these play in. And each of these combat cards are going to have something that goes with it. First, there's going to be potentially something that does over here. And then it's either an attack card, a defense card, or a mix card. This one right here is an attack card. So it's going to show you how many extra dice you get to add to the skill you're using when it comes to dealing with this particular card. There are going to be defense cards as well. For example, here's one. Notice there's an X on the attack or the attacking dice rolls. So that's not helping there, but it gives you +2 defense. And then there's going to be mix cards. So here's a mix card. It doesn't usually give as many dice as the defense and attack cards, but it will give you something that you can, and you're able to use this for both things, either attacking or defending. And it does, this one potentially gives slow. Punch doesn't give you anything. Slash is a item, I believe, is a weapon, and it gives you a mix of both of those. And what does it say here? It says combine with a melee weapon item. Okay, so if we don't have a melee weapon, I must not do anything. We have spray, which, oh my gosh, it's got a gun. I think guns are going to be pretty good. I want to bring a knife to a gunfight, or even fangs to a gunfight. Probably not going to help too much. Well, there's whole bullets in it. So there you go. That's kind of a little bit about how this works, and you'll see a little bit more as we play through the actual game. But these, again, like I said, are just the base cards, and you'll be upgrading these through your character based on how good he is in that particular skill of combat, I guess you could say. Not only do we get combat cards, but so do the enemies as well. For example, here are the boss combat cards that you're going to build decks out of. We'll put those aside. Then we have all the different NPCs, and it does show potentially what the NPC is. For example, this is a vampire one. We have ones also here for authority. So there's all different decks that you're going to build depending on the NPC you're dealing with. And the last one you have is potentially bringing an ally with. They're going to have their own deck, and I don't know if their deck really changes because that looks like a small amount of cards. So they might always just have the same deck. I don't know. I haven't played the game yet, but those are the 3 or 4 different combat decks, I should say. We have our R's, which will grow in power and change based on how you want to do it. And then, of course, the enemies have theirs based on how you're going to build it. Then we do have a small summoning deck as well. I'm not sure what we can summon. I don't really want to spoil too much, so I'm not even going to look at the summons. I don't know. This is a, state card? State card. These are all state cards, aren't they? Yeah, they don't really help. All right, yep, not going to look at those. Okay, there's not like one you start with, so I don't want to look too deep into those. Then we have item cards as well. And I can show you this one. This is the one they demonstrate in the rule book. It's the Molotov cocktail. Now, you could find this in the stories. You could purchase this with boon tokens that you may gain as you go through the story in between. And you can have up to 3 items per character. Now, if you have 3 items and you are in the chapter and you gain an item, you're able to start gaining more than 3. But once that chapter ends and you go into the next chapter, you then can only decide to bring 3 with you. And as a group, you decide kind of what are going to be with who. And it doesn't have to be split evenly. You could give one person 3, one person 1, and 2 guys don't get any. If you want to play 4 players and do it in that order, you totally can. But you can never have more than 3 going into a chapter from how I understand, unless something happens in the rules that changes that. Now, this one, for example, is a Molotov cocktail. In combat, I can place fire tokens on a hex you're in line of sight, and then I do a ruse check to use. And so I'd have to actually check to see how well this does. Then I have to discard this after use. Now, there are some that are not going to be discard after use. Those, for example, would be something like handguns. You might be able to keep those. And once you do use it, it goes back to the box, but there may be a way of reclaiming again as you go through the game. The last deck of cards we have are going to be all the NPCs we're going to find, and I'm going to show you one of them because it's the very first NPC you are ever going to see in the game, so it's not spoiling too much because it's what you're going to see. Here's an Uncanny Soldier. There's a lot going on these cards, and I quickly want to go over it. First, we have his stats based on their player count over here. Second, we have any type of special attack it's going to do. Up here, we have its line of sight, its priority of who it's going to target, and then I believe this is its movement movement. And down here, remember those trackers we have? These are the trackers showing how much health it's going to have. And again, it is based on player count, 1 to 2, 3, and 4. On the back side of this card, we are going to see what type of character it is. This is a human, what it's like, I guess you could say its state or its school of group. Then again, we have its line of sight, its movement, and what type it is. This is aggressive, which means it'll pretty much enter combat as soon as it's within line of sight, barring anything that's preventing him from seeing you. Maybe you're in stealth or something's happening in the story or something of that nature. This right here is going to show you exactly what type of combat deck this character is going to use when fighting. So it's kind of a neat little system. You're fighting this guy, you just put this person out there, you put a little tracker on here, you get your deck ready for him, put him right here, and boom, you're ready to go for combat. I think that's a really cool, slick system. We'll see how it all transpires when we do our playthrough. And there is one more deck of cards. This is the effects deck. This basically is going to affect, I believe, any single thing in the game. It could affect anything. It could affect combat, it could affect an investigation, it can affect, it could deal with movement. I'm sure this is going to affect all different things, and as you play through it, it'll tell you to grab one from here. There may be multiples of a card in here, and then you're going to probably grab a random one and then have to deal with the consequences of that as you're going through the story or combat or whatever it is you're doing. But there's an astronomical amount of these. That's pretty awesome. That's everything that's in the base game. The only thing I didn't show off was some of the miniature quality. So this right here will be able to do that. This is the exclusive miniatures pack that comes with the Kickstarter. There's a big thank you card here. This I did pay extra for to have. I did not go an all-in pledge. One of it came with painted miniatures for the characters, but we're going to paint those ourselves. I do a lot of painting live, usually about once a week, and the live painting this week will be of this game. So if you're interested in joining me for that, please do. Also, we have to figure out who we're going to play with in our campaign. If you're interested in figuring that out, you can join my Patreon. The link is in the description of this video. Things of that nature, I do allow my Patreons to help vote for. So they're going to be voting for what exactly the vampires we're going to be using in this playthrough, and then we're going to paint those up in our live painting episode. So here's some of the miniatures that potentially were those standees before. We have this one right here. I have no idea what this thing is, but looks like a very bat vampire type creature. We have some other people as well, all standing here on their bases. They look pretty good. I've seen better, but I've seen worse. So I'm not too bad. I have no problem with these miniatures at all. We'll get these all painted up and make them look super, super cool. That'll be the plan. We got some weird spider type creature here. Not too fond of that. Definitely afraid of bugs. We have a nice little snake that's coming at us maybe at some point in time. So that's the miniatures pack that came with the game. Like I said, the all-in pledge did come with one of the base sets of miniatures already painted. But I like to paint my miniatures. I think it's a lot of fun to do. It's one of my favorite parts of the hobby. I do have 3 expansions that add content to the game. And before I open them, there were a couple things that were in the exclusive miniatures pack that I just kind of bypassed. One of them is it talks about how to deal with miniatures that are 3 hexes. And this is a card, I believe, from Vampire the Masquerade, the card game. I have never played that. I didn't even know it. There was one a long time ago. I don't know if it's the same one that still is in play now. Here is the Banu Hakim expansion pack. I apologize if I say that wrong. I believe each of these comes with a map, and they're also going to come with a playable character that's going to be part of the clan. Then they also do have some items and some NPCs that they're going to have that's part of their story, and I believe each of them do have a story that come with it as well. They do have a 2-part story. It looks for this one, Chapter 1 and Chapter 2. This might be something you can add to the game that might trigger as you go through it, or it's something that you can just do on your own. Again, we'll have to look at that and figure out how it all comes together. They do have some punch boards as well, and then we have our character. And there's a lot of box to put all this in, but that's okay. I'm sure all of this actually will be able to fit in that core box. So that's something that's really exciting to me. I like the fact that I love it when games give you enough stuff that when you do get extra stuff, you can actually fit it right in the box. So you don't have to have multiple boxes flying around. Here is the miniature. It's the same looking guy that's on the front. So if you ever decide to paint this guy up, it wouldn't be too hard. I really enjoy painting miniatures and being able to use what is on the front of the box or something, or cover art of some kind, so that I know kind of how to paint them. That's usually my go-to. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to paint these tattoos he's got going up his arm. That's pretty ridiculous. I don't think we're able to do that. But let's move on to the other one. These are all going to be very similar, so there's nothing too out of control you're going to see inside these boxes from what I understand. Just a dual-sided map piece that's going to be part of the game that comes with it. Again, we have some of these. We have our miniature right here. Then we have all of the things that come with it. We have the 2 stories. We have the board that goes with it. This person looks like a very persuasive type individual, very good with social social interaction. Then, of course, some disciplines and items that go along with this particular clan. That's the end of this one. This is the, do I even want to try to pronounce that? La Sombra expansion. I probably butchered that one. The Ministry. I didn't butcher that one. I think that one's exactly what this is. Again, we've got some really cool things. It looks more like an adventurer, it looks like, because we have that's kind of cool. It's got a nice little piano and everything inside her. I'm guessing an apartment of some kind. Then this looks like it's some kind of dig site or something, which is kind of cool. And there's a flashlight here for this character. That's kind of neat. She's got a story called Captive. That can't be fun. We have, again, our stat card. This person seems to be very built on mental, and I'll bet the other one was physical. I apologize, I didn't talk a little bit about that one. There's her stuff. Again, we have our tokens, our character cards, and our standee, or it's not standee, our miniature as well. Crouched down with that flashlight. Super cool. We'll box that back up, and I believe that's about all I have. The only thing left to show off is the, wow, making lots of noise. That's fantastic. Put that aside. Is the art book. Our art book is just going to have some neat pictures, and I don't know how much of this is actually going to spoil the game, so this is about the only picture I want to show. I'm not a big fan of art books, mainly because they can potentially spoil some of the game as you're playing through it. Also, I don't collect these. I like to experience the art as I play the game itself. So that's all that we have. There you have it. That is a full unboxing of Vampire Chapters, Vampire the Masquerade Chapters, number 1, Montreal. It'll be interesting to see if they continue this going into 2, 3, and 4. I think they did a werewolves one very similar to this, so if you're interested, if you think you see what you like here, you might want to check on that you might be able to get a late pledge or join the Kickstarter on that, or GameFound. I apologize, I'm not sure which crowdfunding it's on. That's the unboxing of this one, though. I'm excited to get to this one. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell symbol so you know when the playthrough for this game comes out, because you bet we'll be diving into this. Also, please check out my live part of our channel. We're going to be doing a painting episode of one of the characters from this game that is going to be chosen by the Patreon, and if you're interested in joining that, the link to that will be in the description of this video. Those that have already supported the channel are shown here on the screen. Thank you so much for your Patreon. It means the world to me, and it's exciting to see all the different ways we vote for how our games go forward. Other perks that people get being part of the Patreon is you do get to see my playthroughs before they come out without commercial interruptions, usually about a day or two before that, along with the fact that you can interact with our games and tell me kind of how you want our characters to develop and what characters we play. And sometimes I even let them name the characters, which is pretty awesome. So with that, if there's anything else you wish to tell me, please leave in the comments below. I would love to hear from everyone. Thank you so much for watching, and if you're excited to see Vampire the Masquerade Chapters or anything else, then I need you to meet me at the table.